Hi, I'm Marissa Kozlov. Welcome back to eMarketer Industry Voices, where we bring you more perspectives on how marketers are working through challenges and what they envision for the future. With me today is Brian Berger, founder and CEO of Mack Weldon. Brian, nice to see you.
So great to see you. Thanks for having me, Marissa.
Brian, our audience is always interested in learning more about which marketing channels perform best for retail marketers. And from what I understand, for Mack Weldon, it hasn't necessarily been about a specific channel, but it's more been about the tone of your messaging. Tell us more about this content and why that has resonated so well with your customer base.
Yeah, this year has really forced everyone to really evaluate their marketing programs and the kind of tone of voice that they're using to engage their customers. And for us, we are a brand that very typically is heavy-handed and really bold around what we're saying around our product and how great it is and what type of innovation is there. But we just felt that the general mood this year was one where you really needed to meet customers where they are and be way more empathetic and just tone everything down. And so for us, the strategy that really worked was putting it in the customer's voice. We were very successful with campaigns that featured customers talking about our product and how great it is and what their experience was like shopping on our site. And really, those were the types of campaigns that won the day over the last, 8 to 10 months.
It's a great idea. Let's think back to holiday this past season. Given the impact COVID had on the mail and logistics, a really big concern for retailers was on-time fulfillment. How did Mack Weldon get ahead of the curve, and what's a key learning that you can share with us from holiday of 2020?
So fortunate that our 3PL, which is the company that ships our packages to our consumers, was just really on their game, and they really managed things as well as they possibly could. But absolutely, the biggest takeaway was over communicating with our customers and setting expectations that things might take a little longer than what they're typically used to.
So do you think that over communication will continue with future, whether it's marketing campaigns or your strategy for the coming holiday season?
It's interesting. The holiday season this year was really where it typically starts right around Thanksgiving and Black Friday timeframe. It really started in very early November. Customers were very much in tune with the fact that there were a number of ways in which there were possible delays. So it'll be interesting to see this year whether or not that holds and the season where people really lean into their holiday shopping is earlier in the month or whether everybody defaults back to their old behaviors.
Let's talk now about some additional channels that you've been using over the past few years in regards to your marketing. You've been experimenting with some traditional channels, even though Mack Weldon is a digitally native brand. So some of those include the opening of a brick and mortar store here in New York City a few years ago. You've also tested terrestrial radio. You've tested linear television last summer. Have you seen success from these, and do you envision using more traditional channels moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we are operating a pretty broad range of marketing strategies and tactics, and television was one that we were able to test and launch in the middle of the pandemic. And the reason why we were able to do that was because we were seeing a high efficiency level in our core digital marketing programs. So there was space in the budget to test a program as high potential as video and TV. Radio was a channel we were more familiar with because we started advertising on radio a couple of years ago. And I would say, we measure everything. So as long as it's working, we will continue to invest in those channels. And it does go up and down. It's not always consistent. Sometimes a channel, there's a bit of burnout, so you need to dial it back, go dark for a little while, and then come back online. So, our objective is always to understand how all these channels perform so that we can continually move our media mix around.
Brian, you have also spoken a lot about brand loyalty specifically. And once you develop that brand loyalty with your customers, you can build so much more from there. What's your take on how retailers can build a customer experience to increase their brand loyalty?
Yeah, I mean, we think about customer experience as the total experience from when a person sees our ads all the way through to when they hopefully become a repeat customer, or even if they're a customer that has a negative experience and ultimately isn't somebody that we're able to win over. The entirety of that experience is how we think about customer experience. And our approach is much more hospitality driven than it is any sort of specific tactical or channel-driven playbook. Everybody is really operating with a customer-first mentality, and that is very situation-driven. So if somebody's having a great experience, we want to give them an opportunity to amplify that. If somebody's having a bad experience, we want to make sure we do everything possible to resolve their issue, even if we know it's not going to result in them becoming a long-term loyal customer.
Okay. Lastly, Brian, Mack Weldon has a big birthday coming up next year. In August is your 10th anniversary. Congratulations. Where do you see the brand? Where do you see the brand at that 10-year mark?
We do see the power of putting Mack Weldon into a real life format where customers can have a fully immersive experience with the brand. And we've learned a lot of those lessons through our experience at Hudson Yards. So there's a couple of things that we have this year and rolling forward that will expand our retail footprint into some of our key markets. And then the other thing that we also, have done very little of is third-party retail, where we're actually putting our product in somebody else's hands to sell. And I think retailers in general have just become so much more creative with the kinds of things that they're doing to attract brands that have very limited retail footprint to come into their formats. And so whether that's a Nordstrom or some other large multi-branded retailer, we are having those conversations now, and we're pretty excited to have them continue from here.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate you being here with us today and for sharing all of this. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to Industry Voices. We'll see you soon. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy. Please wear a mask.
InMobi helps you understand, identify, engage, and acquire your customers. InMobi, driving real connections.